At the Red Lantern Motor Lodge, the vacancy sign doesn't turn off. It blushes. Even in daylight, the letters look wet, like someone just finished painting the word come and didn't know how to spell it. I stopped because I was tired and because a storm over the desert had stitched the sky shut. The interstate shoulder flooded, lightning drew white bones in the clouds, and the rain turned the asphalt into a noisy mirror. The clerk behind the plexiglass wore a name tag that just said staff. He slid a metal key on a split ring through the drawer and said, "Room 209. If the TV turns on by itself, turn it off. If someone knocks, don't open." He said the rules like most people say goodnight. 209 was upstairs on the far corner, doors swollen from other storms. Inside, a cheap bed, a painting of a red lamp over red water, a TV that looked like it regretted surviving. The air smelled faintly of hot pennies, like a pocket you shouldn't reach into. I set my bag down, clicked the chain across the door, and put my phone on the nightstand with the camera facing the room in case I remembered to be smart later. The storm threw itself against the window. The TV flickered on, static, then a late-night preacher mouthing vowels without consonants, then snow again. I turned it off. It turned on. I unplugged it from the wall. It stayed on, but only to channel 209 on the digital overlay, a date that wasn't one. The sound dropped to a hum that was almost a voice and almost a ceiling fan and almost the way a throat sounds when it's made of someone else's breath. I called the front desk. The line rang twice. The clerk picked up and breathed like he'd run to the phone. "It's your TV?" he asked. "Don't engage, and don't put the volume to 0. "I already unplugged it," I said, because I wanted the truth to be proof. "Don't put the volume to 0, he repeated, like a manual written by a person with a bruise. He hung up before I could ask what happens at 0. I set the volume to 1 and faced the screen the way you face a dog that's half a wolf. The picture stabilized into a hallway with carpet I recognized, the second-floor corridor of this motel. The camera was low, as if held at a child's height or mounted where ankles live. The image drifted past door 205, past 207, past my door, 209, and kept going, even though there was no 211 at the corner. The screen insisted the hall kept going. The building disagreed. Someone knocked. 2 knuckles, polite, middle of the door, my name tucked into the rhythm the way you tuck a note into a coat pocket. I stood still because stillness is a fence. I didn't answer. The TV showed the hallway stopping where it should stop. The end wall with the ice machine and the exit sign that hums even when you can't hear it. The camera turned around slowly, showing every door like teeth. "Not my problem," I said out loud, which is the first lie people tell in rooms like this. Ween 09 a.m. I tried to sleep and succeeded halfway. The AC unit started and stopped like a sentence with too many commas. The TV turned on again, and this time the channel 209 showed the inside of my room, from the top corner near the ceiling, looking down at me in bed, at the soft orange glow from the lamp, at the lump which was me failing to be a shape anyone loves. I climbed out of my own picture and stood in the corner where the camera must be. There was no camera. The cobweb there had the kind of dust only years make. On the TV, I watched myself press my hand to the wall where my hand was already pressing. The slight delay made me dizzy, as if the room was a bad internet connection with my life on the other side of the lag. A word bled through the hum, a sound the volume didn't admit to carrying. Stay. The chain on the door lifted against the frame like it had an opinion. Someone knocked again, softly, 3 times, please. The painting of the red lamp over red water tilted on its wire, just enough to fake an earthquake. I picked up my phone and did the simplest spell I know, record. The mic caught the storm, the AC hiccup, the low hum spelling loneliness, and under it something wet moving where dry things live. The peephole offered a fisheye of the corridor, empty as the spine of a book. The carpet out there was darker than it had been an hour ago, like water had tried to be a hallway. "Staff?" I called. "You here?" Something on the other side of the door put its mouth so close to the peephole that the glass clouded. My name condensed there, as if spoken by someone who had the weather wrong. I didn't open. I watched the TV instead, because at least one lie had committed to showing me something. Channel 209 was now showing the front desk, the plexiglass, the drawer, the hook where keys hung, except only one key was there, on its split ring, stamped 209. The staff tag lay face down on the counter like a person who chose the floor on purpose. I went to the window and peeled the curtain for a look. The red vacancy sign colored the rain. Down in the lot, under that blush, was a woman in a motel bathrobe standing barefoot on the painted number for my space. Her hair was wet only at the ends, like she'd been underwater without water. She looked up with her chin almost to her shoulder, the way children look when they're listening to someone higher up. She lifted her hand and pinched her fingers together as if she was turning a knob that wasn't there. The TV volume slid down from 1 to 0. The hum stopped. Silence isn't quiet. Silence is an alarm you can't locate. In the breath after the 0, the room learned a new temperature. The mirror over the dresser blushed at the edges the way the sign outside did. The air tasted like a battery. On the TV, the woman in the bathrobe looked into the lens and smiled like an apology. Her teeth were the exact color of the vacancy sign. "Okay," I said, aloud to the rule I should have obeyed. I hit the volume back up to 1. The hum returned like CPR, like a radio finding a station. The woman flickered and the screen returned to the empty hall. The mirror forgot to blush. 129 a.m. The TV showed the hallway from ankle height again. Door 203 opened an inch by itself, then shut politely. The ice machine clicked and then dispensed nothing into no bucket. The exit sign lost its hum, and for a second I heard the road out front like ocean. An engine idled, not quite here, not quite now. The phone on the nightstand lit up with a call from unknown. I let it ring. It rang 9 times, then left a voicemail. I didn't listen. Sometimes the bravest thing is letting a message be a message without being a sentence. The door chain lifted again and fell. Whoever wanted in didn't push. Please was the loudest word in the room. At 2:09 a.m., the TV image tilted like a head. The camera pushed forward fast, ankles running, the carpet pattern blurring into a red river. It stopped at my door. The number 209 filled the screen like a face you only see in nightmares, where digits are mouths. A single red drop rolled down the digit 2 and fell off the bottom of the picture with a noise the speakers didn't know how to make. The drop landed on the carpet by my door in real life, a small, perfect coin of red the rain couldn't have taught. I packed. It wasn't graceful, it wasn't brave. It was the movement of a person who has chosen alive over answers. I left the key on the bed. I opened the door and stepped into a corridor that smelled like hot pennies and wet travel brochures. To my left, the hallway stopped where it should stop. Ice machine, exit. To my right, past 209, it didn't stop. It kept going. An extra 2 doors, 211 and 213, that had never been there an hour ago. The carpet was dry in front of those doors. Footprints walked from 213 to 211 to 209 in a child's skipping pattern. Each heel mark had 2 crescents like someone had stood in the same place twice. I walked to the stairs because down is where cars are. The vacancy sign pulsed through the rain like a heartbeat with manners. On the landing, the woman in the bathrobe turned the knot knob again, and the hallway lights did the 0 thing. Dead, then alive, then dead. I said to her, without looking directly at the space where you keep a person, "I can't stay." Her head tilted. "Don't," she said, voice like water trying not to be ice. "But take us." Us who? I asked, because questions are doors you open instead of others. She pointed at the TV-shaped darkness, and then at my phone on the nightstand behind me, and then at the red coin on my threshold. The ones you record. I backed down the stairs. In the office window, the staff tag wasn't on the counter anymore. The key hook held nothing. The clerk's chair wasn't empty. It was turned to face the blank wall. The TV in the lobby entertained no one, with channel 209 showing a parking lot that would be full by morning and was empty now except for my car and a thin person in a bathrobe standing where I had been standing in the upstairs window. I drove. The storm moved sideways long enough to let me up the on-ramp. The radio found a station insisting on a call-in hour for people who couldn't sleep. I didn't call. I kept both hands at 10 and 2 and counted the long white dashes until counting felt like a prayer I'd stolen from someone who believed. At a gas station 2 towns over, I washed the red coin out of the rug and it didn't wash. I checked my phone and it had a new video in a folder my phone swears it doesn't have, 209 MP4. I pressed play and saw the ankle height view, 203, 205, 207, then stopped before 209. I've never watched the last 10 seconds. I won't. Whatever is in those 10 seconds doesn't end in a lesson. It ends in a room. If you need a moral, here's the only one I earned. Vacancy isn't an invitation. It's a promise the place made to something else. If a TV tells you the building is bigger than the building, it isn't. You are. If someone teaches you not to turn the volume to 0, they're trying to keep the silence from learning your name. Weeks later, a charge from Red Lantern Motor Lodge hit my card for $2. So nimes. A clerk answered when I called, not the one I met. Her voice was full of apologies like tissue paper. Room 209's out of service, she said. Again. I asked what the fee was for. Key deposit, she said. You left it on the bed. Then, as if she was reading from a script no one wrote, if the TV turns on, don't turn the volume to 0. I hung up. I put my phone face down. The vacancy sign in my memory kept blushing. And sometimes, when rain stops abruptly, like a sentence with a missing verb, I hear a gentle knock that tries to spell my name. I don't open, I don't set the volume to 0, and I don't watch the last 10 seconds.